collective energy reading. Please only take what resonates. Always leave the rest for the best. Don't stress. 3 and 7, you could be taking yourself to heaven. Take me to the King. I don't have much to bring. My heart was torn to pieces. That's the offering. Lay me at the throne. Illuminate. Then people are eliminating themselves. They're laying themselves at the throne. They're lost in pieces because these matches they're seeing, that finances and the careers and the emotional factors towards life, that stress, conflict, instability, because they're having clarity about the choices, about love, about not using their intuitions, not having eye clarity of one's mind, of one's thoughts, running through stress, running through desires, running, not connecting to their emotional factor and listening to their intuitions because they was unstable. Take this all as it resonates. We're going to clear the energy, clear the air, turn it down. 1, 2, 3. And thanks for coming back, because you was needing to come back, because the spirit led you here for a reason. And everything's all for a reason. Nothing's not coincidental, as they say. Oh, coincidence. No, it's not a coincidence. It happened for a reason. It's just so you can get the higher clarity. So right, you're connecting, you go 2 and 7, you're connected to those emotions. You could see a masculine, feminine was too busy in that earthly energy. They was earthbound running, and they have to look now because of the lifestyle and those luxuries and the partners and the choices that they made. They were gaining higher clarity. They were spiritually blocked, emotionally blocked, mentally blocked. You had higher awareness. Now they're gaining introspection. You had high philosophical wisdom. They may be seeing you as a high priestess. You may be standing in your high priestess energy. Just encompassed emotions, gone through virtues in life, enabling, supporting one to be able to grow, transform, knowing one's self-worth. You gone encompassed emotions. You seeing when people was blocked and they was too much in that physical world. You balance that physical as well as the mental, emotional. You seen that sun, the moon to illusions, confusions, people blocking and stopping, holding on to assets, resources, their mindset. They was detached from their self, from transforming and growing. Now they're connected to those emotions. They could have been blocked from even speaking, to be even transformed, because that's about stability. That's when you're not able to be able to use your intuitions, because that's your power when you're stubborn. And people blocking you because that's when you're depending on material aspects and you're not speaking wisely and having that true thought to be able to transform. Because when you're in Pluto and you're stuck because you're running for money, cars, clothes, assets, luxuries, you've got things that are hidden, secret, lies, habits. That's when you're not looking at oneself and not using that inner strength, that power to transform, change your mind, change the thoughts. You wasn't able to be able to grow. This could be a masculine energy, father figure, mother figure. Blocking and stopping, you're going to be hearing about these confusions. That's when you're uncompromising, you're not grinding. That's when you're not using that intelligence in a good way and you're hard working, what you're dominating over. That's when you're dominating over money, possessions, persistent, confusions, illusions, blocking, not being a high priestess in a positive way. You're unable to be able to look for the things that was in the darkness. You're gaining clarity, highlighting about people's actions. You looking and you're gaining that inspiration. You've got that omnipresence. The spirits direct you, enable you to move with love. You see when people are putting these obstacles in place, gaining that higher clarity. You have to bob and weave, continuously growing with love, getting higher awareness. People was blocking you on your path in regards to money, stability, persistent, a feminine energy trying to control dominance over your resources. That's because you're steadfast and organized, because you was manifesting your craft. They was just wanting to be able to master your craft over you've already mastered your resources. They can't take your skills and ability because you've got that most high God awareness, because when you, I am, And I'm taking that leap. Certain people was being a fool, taking that leap because that was a great aggression. Could have been a masculine energy as well. Take it all as it resonates. All because of their ego. They didn't have self-respect and dignity. They didn't have moral compass of life. They didn't have moral compass of life. They weren't able to transform. They were stuck in that zone, in that dome, confusion, because of their mind and their wisdom. They weren't able to encompass emotions, because that's when you flight and detach, trying to control feminine energy, institutionalizing their mind. And when you're creative, how you're creating, that's when you're doing art and creative craft skills, artistic music, poetry. That's when people have got a social awareness of you, and now you're creating, speaking, manifesting, enabling yourself to have compassion, willpower, to continuously keep growing. That's when you've got that inner peace within inside of you, stability, stable, nurturing one's mind, one's thoughts. That's when, are you in a childlike spirit? Because this feminine energy could have been in that extra low dense energy, mind locked, blocked, because when you're running through that Saturn, and that's that low dense when you're not even looking because it's your hell, you're in foot bottom. That's when it told you about Satan, Saturn. That's when you're not thinking. That's when you're running through those root chakras and your solar, your sacral, extra energies. And you're not having compassion through oneself to be able to grow, to be able to identify and put boundaries in place. So you could see you wasn't able to be able to put boundaries in place to certain family members and friends that could have been in your social circle, because they was watching, they were socially detached, mentally, emotionally detached, watching, trying to possess your possessions, your partner, take it all as it resonates, because they was in that same community. They're having stress and conflict unstable in their mind because they're gaining higher clarity in regards to who you are, how you're achieving, how you're evolving, how you're growing. You've got discipline and structure. They was emotionally, mentally blocked, basically, because of their mindset towards money and values and what they valued and what I want and what I possess. They didn't have that initiative. They want spiritually balanced the way how you were spiritually balanced. So you can see you made that sudden change. You ended certain karmic cycles. People was blocking and stopping you because of your creative skills, like you weren't able to use your intuitions, like you wasn't able to use that inner power and that strength. Like persistent. People was trying to be able to depend on you. Stubborn, like you were stubborn, they was being stubborn. Materialistic mindsets. That's when you have to block, because that's when you grow and you have to have that oneness. You see that duality. I am, I feel. Now that you move with love, and you was empowering people to be able to move with love because you was evolving, you was achieving, and now they can see that you're achieving, and I am, and they can see I'm evolving, I'm achieving, I'm thinking, and now they're thinking, because they're moving with love. This divine feminine and masculine can see how you're evolving and achieving. They can see now they're looking back towards you, they're thinking with love, because now they're thinking, and now there I am, I'm feeling, I'm seeing you as a part of that life force. I can gain that higher clarity in regards towards you. I was stuck and I was blocked, and now I'm gaining inspiration. I can see the spirit start talking to me. I see that vision. It was you, it was that love. Now I'm going to take action to be able to come and speak this towards you. They may be in their mind and just looking now because having stress and conflict. They could have been having extra energies, holding on to assets, doing things in secret. Now they was creating and knew they was creating within a childlike spirit. Could have had a child, manifested a family. Now they're having stress and conflict. They could have been protecting that and hiding because it's about money and their values and what they was valuing and who they're creating with. 5, 10. So that's that ending of that cycle. 20, judgments taking place. That's when you have to look and you have to analyse and recognise, reflect back on the stories about what you was possessing and now possess, and now I'm being that fool because now I need to be able to gain that balance because of the opportunities. What was I having that great leap of faith? 4, 2, take it all as it resonates, guys. 10 minutes in, 9, because they're gaining higher clarity, because that's when you look at your self-worth and now going back on your word, divine masculine. So that was them trying to possess, control. They wasn't using their intuition, speaking, love, sexual energies in secret. They was gaining a family, about one house, about stability. Face starts itching, so they can see they was putting some hard work into possess this morning. She took me in like a mum, and loved me only mum I ever knew. I miss her. So they could be saying you could have been caring, nurturing. They could have been around somebody else caring, nurturing, enabling them to grow, transform, change. That's looking at their stabilities, making them get organised now. And they could be seeing now they was detached. They wasn't hard working. They could see you was responsible. They wasn't able to use intelligence. Now they're looking back to their stories, how they acted, and that's looking at that turning point. That's when you have to look at certain losses now, and the people who made significant towards you, who made you unable to grow and steadfast, make them positive changes. Look at the parts of your life and the mysteries to your story. So it was a part of that development, that self-awareness. That's when you're expanding to be able to grow and achieve your skills. That's that 10 of Pentacles. That's when you got to have that restrictions, discipline, and restricting that mind, those thoughts, those feelings from acting. Time, you move on. Time, you got ambition for yourself. So you moved on, you got ambition for yourself, you did your creative skills, you find that balance, you evolved, you seen, you looked at your life force, because I am creating, I'm achieving, I'm evolving. So you started craving and achieving, adopting 2 kids, brother and a sister. So they could adopt 2 kids, a brother, a sister, because they was in institutions. So they're now finding that you could have been adoption and enabling people to be able to grow, because that was like looking, because you could have been fearing that you wasn't able to, they could have been in fear. You could have been in fear. They could be fearing to be able to tell you that they've adopted kids, a brother and a sister. Take this all as it resonates, because it's that holy grail. That's when you're connecting that mind, that heart, that body and that soul. That's you getting that omnipresence. That's that omnology, connecting, so you can see the things that are in unknown. You get that higher clarity from the divine that tells you the things that are secret, certain people's actions, that creative skills. And when you're unable to act and be creative, when you're needing to be able to speak on those things, that's when you've got that higher awareness and you've got balance, because you're doing it with love so people can grow. Take action to look at their self, reflect, refine, restore. That's when you've got that clarity. Use your intelligence to continuously move in, because that's when you're transforming, changing, realization and having that awakening. Because the average person falls asleep in 7 minutes, dreams for 30 minutes. So you know, you fell asleep in 7 minutes, you got that high clarity, connected to the divine, spiritual awake, mentally awake, emotionally. And that's when you've seen, that was that balance within your mind, because you've seen it was just this. You had to defend yourself when you were sleeping in that awake life, in the sleep life. Certain people's being adventurous because they thought they was being wise. You use your intuitions. You was grounded, steadfast, protected by the divine. Take it all as it resonates. Don't let them use you. You are smart. So you didn't let them use you. You were smart. You was wise. You use your intuitions because you're a high priestess. You didn't let no feminine, masculine take over your thoughts or your feelings. God, you was bad and you was bougie out here in these streets, and they didn't like it because you had that clarity, that high awareness, grounded, stable, mature, caring, nurturing, creative, compassion to yourself. You weren't able to be able to use these boundaries because it was a part of your inner peace. Let it go, let it pass, let it be. That was your self-power. That was you maintaining that confidence, communicating, speaking, analysing, recognising, identifying, looking, gaining information. When people was trying to be able to cause you confusions, you enabled yourself to grow because that was that inner flame within inside of you. It was a spark, it enlightened. It was a part of the transmission because it was a universal. You had to hug yourself. That was a part of that change, and you knew, steadfast, organised. Look at the approaches. I'm taking a sleep, I'm going. All right, and we're having this fulfillment. And that was you when you're looking at that stardust, because it was those memories from the mysteries of your past. You had to look at the emotional aspects of your stories. That was the difficult experiences, what you overcome, challenges, heartache, hurt and pain. You had to weigh, you perceive that reality. Your mindset, you took balance and grew. I'll tell you something, I'll show you something. That's what you was on. Steadfast, stable, harmony, nurturing, because you was practical. That was about your material aspects, your career and your finances, because that was a gateway to your awakening, higher self. It was mastery, self-mastery. And that's that new path is unfolding. And that's through this. It's that gateway to be able to expand that consciousness. And it's an awakening, that higher truths. It's spiritual awakening, new horizons, and it's consciousness, it's evolution. Now those divine feminines, masculines, they're connected to their heart. They're looking back towards you and saying, oh my gosh, now they're using their intuitions, seeing you because they was in their ego. That's when you have to gain introspection, put that down. That's when you was having aggression and you was direct. You got eye clarity, you gained introspection and you protected yourself. Because that was you moving forward with the spiritual guides, the ancestors, to balance the mind, balance the thought, speak of that knowledge. When people taking that action, you got higher clarity of mind because that was that power within inside of you still pushing you forward. And that was that passion. Don't let them use you because you were smart. So you didn't let them use you. You were smart. You was creative because you had that boundless of horizons and you was boundless infinite potential that you had within inside of yourself. That was that Holy Trinity deep down within, connected, omnipresence, personal power. People was holding and blocking, pum power, controlling sexual energies to block people, holding them down beyond time, beyond space and time, to be able to block your mind so they was confused, so they lacked balance because of the people that was around them. They was having actual energies lost, didn't have clarity of thought, clarity of mind because they had stress and conflict, all because they was in that underworld, all because of these illusions, spell work, paying for money to block sexual energies. Succubus, Jezebel spirits, Latvius spirits, illusionists, confusionists. That's when you have to look at yourself when you're not growing and you're slowing and you've got no self-respect, no dignity, and you're holding on because I am and I possess. I'm dominant over this. Why? Because I'm trying to control you. Because you know they're not a guru. They can see that you're that guru. You got that. You're that genius. Isis, Genesis. Now they can see, oh, what wish did you want? Oh, okay, I wish for that. All right, you sure you got that balance and clarity of mind? Okay, that's that next wish. What wish are you wanting? Now they're having that high awareness. That's that last wish. Use your intuitions because they see that stardust of memories, thinking back, because that thought we was going to be able to talk about this first. So they thought they was going to be able to talk about that first, whether that's possessing their values, their mindset, because of their mother issues, troubles. So much troubles. Was far from here. They got troubles far from there because the way he was programming their mind, where they got set from childhood to adulthood, because that's looking at like possessions and I possess, and that's that deep emotional core now, part of their spiritual aspects of their life, because it was stuck, because illusions and confusions, and they didn't have that love and that heading and that holding, and you know when you're trying to be able to create, to be able to manifest, all because of that power of abundance, trying to control. And they was trying to be like they wanted to be like controlling, you know, and you've got it because you're fearing that lack, because you wanted to be able to create, but who you're creating with, and you're not looking about the people that you're creating with, because you wasn't using your intuition, speaking that truth in regards to their lovers, their choices, their values, how they was feeling, because they was being stubborn. You had to protect yourself because they was controlling over money, dominance, taking energy, vampires. Everyone lies, one a day. So everybody lied, one a day. They was lying. Now they're looking about the memories, how much they lied more than one a day. Because of what they was valuing, they was in illusions, secrets, all those secrets. So they lied one a day. I don't flip, I just like to be able to express with different forms of expression. So they lied with different forms of expression because the way how they communicated, you communicated, they lied. They wasn't balanced because of what they was trying to be able to possess. They was just stubborn, materialistic, wasn't using in the intuitions, weren't expressing with love, weren't expressing with that truth and that clarity. They wasn't being practical and they was thinking about these words. They weren't nurturing and honouring your thoughts, your feelings, the way you're trusting their gut feelings when they was speaking. He wasn't no saint. He was mean and wild with women, but he loved his kids. So he was mean, wild with women, controlling sexual energies, all underworld, one a day, different a day. But it was nice with their kids. It was caring, it was compassionate, it was nurturing. They enabled them, supported them, provided for them, their kids, not for the women. Now they're having that gateway to awakening. Their mindset blocked, stopped, stubborn, ego-driven. Yes, I am going to get involved. This behaviour can't be tolerated. So yes, certain people, a feminine mother, could be communicating, getting involved. Friends, because their behaviour can't be tolerated. Arguing, shouting, extra energies, choices that they be taking. A mother figure could be an auntie, a family member that's close towards them in their community, could be having to get involved because they could be out in their community shouting out, having arguments, drinking, socialising, and just creating stress. was well represented at last trial. You here, you're lucky, you got visitation. So at that last trial, they got well represented. Somebody got them off, transformed, and now they're steadfast because they was hardworking. That person who got them off that last trial, they communicated effectively for them. They may have had to pay them a money because they was like wise, that person who got them off. Take it all over, it resonates because they was like voracious, protected them. So they was lucky because they went beyond. They had these illusions, in fact, because this lover, because they're seeing there's memories now, that silent worth, your high priestess. They're gaining clarity in regards to who you are, that Four of Coins connecting now, because that's that balance, the emotions. I know they was working with, and that's that scarcity mindset. That's when you're trying to be able to possess and create, and who you're possessing with, and you're protecting because you're being selfish and creative in that childlike spirit. And now they're having that higher clarity awakening because they didn't have no balance and temperaments. Because now they're looking, connecting now. They're looking back towards you and saying, oh my gosh, you are that star. They've got a social awareness of you. They was like being moody and selfish, clinging on, spell work, sexual energy in regards to your partner, assets. And certain people was doing it like a creature of habits. That's because those tight wad, money, emotions. That's when you're looking about your structures, your foundations, you're trying to secure things for power. They wasn't critically thinking and using their intuitions. They didn't have compassion. They can see you seeing these illusions to the confusions because of their habits. That masculine didn't have firm foundations, or because of the comfort and stability, detached from emotions. That was like a mother. They weren't connecting. You was high awareness. They was privately on that, blocking and stopping bridges because of that subconscious mind for their foundations, psychological problems, and that was childhood problems. They didn't encompass those emotions. That's because they just wanted everyone to have a social awareness of them, who they are in public. That's like when you're out partying, socializing, music, for creating. I am creating and I'm possessing to be able to go evolve, but they're creating a lot of stress, or because of being stubborn. Fire sign, Cancer sign, Aries, Taurus, Scorpio, idealistic, driven through stress, heartache, pain. They can see that high clarity in regards to who you are. You transformed, you changed, you was growing, steadfast, hardworking. Now they can say, oh my gosh, you're that sun. I'm gaining clarity in regards to who you are, because that was between the worlds, and that was that bridge. They're seeing that divine feminine, because that's when you get that high clarity, your mind, your heart, your body, and your soul. 9 of Clubs. They can see that self-indulgent. They was materialistic, selfish, imbalance of mind, thoughts. They were spiritually blocked, emotionally blocked, because they was driven through actual energies. Saturn running through your low, hell, Saturn, hell. That's where they were. That's what fire energy. That's when you how much passion and the willpower and that force for to possess money, controlling resources, controlling people's energy, controlling people's minds. All because that was that unconditional life choices, altered lifestyles, spiritually blocked, mentally blocked, emotionally blocked, financially blocked. And that's that status quo. And you have to think for yourself, all right, flight and detach, I want to quickly get this quick lifestyle, quick possessions. They didn't have eye clarity. They want transforming, because now they're having that tower moment. That's when you have to go back to that side, look at yourself, the memories, have that awakening, get that high clarity to that awareness. And 7, choices, relationships, family members, friends, business, partners, who you're working with. Was you creating on that right path? Did you keep going back to the clearance? Did you go back to the top of the rail? Or did you want the new stuff? Or did you want that cheap shit? They're realizing about the cheap shit, because quality, it took quantity of time, of knowledge. It was through space and time. They didn't want to be able to transform mind, thoughts, feelings. That's that awakening potential within inside of you. Because you're going to see the gossip, because they didn't listen. It was finances and careers. So that was like every time they lied, and every day, because that's that memories now, because of accountability. Hopeless romantic. They had these belies, and now there was idolizing, and that was when you was in that running after golden calves and awaiting forever, dreaming. Because they can see you're the high priestess. That's ignored messages, awaiting anxiously, no replies. They're just busy, so they could have left you, make you feel like you was busy, because they was in that extra energies, gambling, risking, love. Nine of Cups, because they thought they was manifesting, because they had addictions, illusions, confusions, frustrations, obsessions, all because it was in that material life. Now they're looking at these life lessons. They may be trying to send you messages, can't send you a message. They're gaining higher clarity now where they're looking up information because they're having that wake-up call. And it's awakening potentials. They was doing it all for money and material aspects of life. Social awareness, in childlike spirits, confusion, just because of controlling, all because of your ego and aggression. And you didn't lapse your mindset. Didn't want to be able to grow and transform. Now they're seeing they're hopeless romantic. That's when you have to love yourself first. For gain that clarity, mind, body, heart, soul, spirit. Look at yourself, get steadfast, organized. Look at your structures, getting that masculine energy. Because you have to be loyal for yourself. How are you going to be creative and protect yourself? That's when you have to forgive other people and have that generosity for you. Compassion for you. Forgive you. Love you. Because when they're leaving you on red, and very soon, you'll get that clarity to decide what you're wanting and what you're needing. Because the life lessons, chemistry, it's your soulmate. That's a part of that karmic cycle. Because when you've got that unconventional choices and you're not being realistic to yourself and you're not looking back at the aspects of the choices and you're having that growth, it's spiritual growth, mindset, thoughts, feelings. Because if you don't grow, you get into that thinking session and then you start thinking, oh my gosh, and Mercury, it's that high awakening because you have to love yourself first. It's strength. And not when you have that gratitude attitude, they lack gratitude. They didn't ask God to grant them serenity to accept things they can't change. And that's gratitude, remember, life, man. They didn't look at those lessons, those highly favoured gifts, because they're seeing it's chemistry. And now they wanted to be able to surrender. Because that's boundaries. They may be boundaries in place now because things have been illuminated to them. To you, you've seen these illuminations because that was that strength within inside of you. Bottom to the top. Because that's when you have to have that strength, because that's when you have to use that initiative. That's that perseverance through heartache, hurt and pain. And that's when you have to go through that heartache, you get that clarity, put that rod and that staff to comfort you, because that's that eternity. And it's divinely guided within that heart. And it's like through love, through space and time. And that's when you have to trust it's infinite. You surrendering to that flow of life. That's when you get clarity and you're deciding what you're wanting and needing. You act. Because that's you expanding those thoughts, that vision to be able to walk through that door with clarity. Because that's you having that heartache and that awareness. Because it's new opportunities today to grow, to know. Because when you're using that initiative, I made a new friend. Is very complicated. So I made a new friend who was very complicated. Now they're gaining clarity and eye awareness now that it was in the ego. Criminal, only 16. So the criminal, only 16. When they made a new friend, they want spiritual work. They was moving in the ego obsessions, underworld. Just want to say you will never feel like you ain't got two parents. So they may have wanted to feel like they've never got two parents, them children. They've got two parents, a mum and a dad. She's going to talk. That's a miracle. So people are going to talk. It's a miracle about certain people, actions. People talk, eye clarity, because that's eternity. You clear, decide on what you're wanting. Because that expansion and that surrendering with the Holy Spirit, you have to connect, because that's that oneness within you. So you best call them sick with something familiar. So they're going to call in sick with something familiar. Family, friends, they're gaining clarity now. Looks like you remembered you had a home to come home to. So now they're expanding. They're looking like they have that home to come home to, that Holy Grail. They're looking about that space beyond space and time. That's that wake-up call, because they was doing that inner work. You may need to do some inner work, because that's that initiative. When you're blocking yourself and stopping yourself from that manifesting that light. So you're manifesting that light, listening to the Spirit, that Holy Spirit, connecting. That's when you're having that faith, holding it, mastering your source, your breath, that high awareness to expand. And that's expanding with thoughts and feelings, because that's that self-love. Because I am light, I am joy, and yet, oh, that poker face to be able to grow. Because you be knowing when you're growing, people were slowing and they didn't know that you was growing. You had that all knowing. You let go, transformed, nurtured yourself, enabled yourself to act steadfast, organised. That's when you wasn't fearing. Nobody was scaring you. You seen that transformation from those illusions and confusions. You got the revelations. You got the revelations. They was brought to you by the Spirit from the Most High, Ra. Let's just leave these. Let's see what we got from this. It must came out for a reason. Z, V, M. We've got I, R, W. Put this, C, Rico. You got the Rico. Another I, one more. One more. An M. So, you seen those minions? You got the miracles. You seen our people try to, they was trying to be, you was like, pal. You was pumping. You seen the rumours. You had remorse. You seen the motives. Public. Cops. You seen RIP. Certain people are getting stuck out here in these streets. RIP to them. Take it all as it resonates, guys. You're going to see they was just right above the rim. And pop up. Take this all as it resonates. Always leave the rest. Because remember, you're VIP out here in these streets. You're going to continue to keep on moving with the spirit.